Hi everyone, I'm back now to show you step 2 of mixing the dough. I do want to tell you that in step 1, when I showed you how to mix the flour and water, and then I added the starter. When I added the starter, best practice would be to take the dough whisk and whisk the starter in. What I did is I put the starter in and then I put the flour in and mixed it, but it would be best practice to mix the starter in and so it's all into the water and then add the flour. I have to be so aware of doing everything as you should to teach people how to do this. So that's best practice. This will still be fine. It's just an added step that I think is probably important. So when you're learning how to make sourdough. So, okay. My dough has been on the warming mat and under the towels for 40 minutes. So now I'm going to show you what I do in the next step to add the salt. At this point, this is also what you will see online or hear people say, this is when you start your stretch and folds. So I'm going to kind of do it together. I'll add the salt and do my stretch and folds. This is round 1 of stretch and folds. Typically people do 3 to 4, sometimes even 5 rounds of stretch and folds with 30 minutes in between. So I did 40 minutes initially. Now I'm going to add the salt and do my first round of stretch and folds. So I'm going to uncover, take everything out. As you can see, the dough has already started to rise, filling up the bowl. If I look underneath, do you see how it's already starting the fermentation process and I didn't even add the salt yet? But you can see the bubbles underneath. That's why I like to use a clear bowl for this. Okay, so my salt, 20 grams. If I was making 1 loaf, I would only use 10 grams. And again, you'll see a variety of different recipes that will add different amounts of salt, but they're all within a couple of grams of each other. But I do 10 on 1 loaf or double that, 20 on a double batch. So I'm going to take my fingers and kind of make some divots. You can see it's very, very sticky right now. And then I'm going to sprinkle this on top. And then usually I start by using this bench scraper to kind of tip the dough over onto the salt. And just keep turning your bowl. This is almost like a stretch and fold, and I'll show you what a stretch and fold actually is. But this just gets the salt really mixed in to start, and then I'll show you what a stretch and fold looks like. So it's kind of cool about sourdough is it only has a few ingredients. That's why it's so healthy for you. All right. So there, I have the salt at least inside, and now I'm going to show you what a stretch and fold looks like. So I think about it as a clock, and I go to midnight or 12 o'clock, and then you just pull up and flip it over to the other side. Turn your bowl a quarter turn, grab it, flip it over. Another quarter turn, grab it, flip it over. Another quarter turn, grab it, flip it over. Some people stop there. They do 4 stretch and folds and then they pause, put the dough back to sleep for 30 minutes, come back and do another round. I do more than just those 4 stretch and folds. So I'm going to keep going. And as you do this, you will see the dough really start to change, and it gets harder and harder and less stretchy. So you just turn it a quarter turn, grab the opposite side and pull it towards you, flip it over. And you see how it's less and less stretchy? So I just grab it, turn it over, quarter turn, try to stretch it, flip it over. And I can already see the dough is changing from shaggy to smoother as I do this. And I just do it till I think it's had enough stretch and folds, until it just doesn't stretch at all anymore, which is about now. Try to get the extra dough back off my gloves and into the bowl. And then one more thing that I always do is I take my scraper and I try to get all the dough from the bowl back into the dough ball. And I feel like the salt is pretty well mixed in. And when we come back and do more stretch and folds, it'll get more and more incorporated into the rest of the dough. So then I just scrape it and try to put it in the middle and get that dough ball ready to go. In the next video, I'm going to show you a different way that people stretch their dough. Sometimes people do the stretch and folds, which I just showed you now. And sometimes people do it more like where they pick up the dough and flip it like that. So I will do that kind of mixing on the next one. They just pick it up in the center. You can still see the dough is still stretching, and then they just lay it back down. Some people even do something called a slap and fold, and that really gets the gluten to develop, and I will show you that in the next few videos also. So at this point, we did our stretch and folds. The dough needs to rest again, this time for 30 minutes. So I'm gonna take my gloves off, put the shower cap back on. It's on my warming mat. I cover it up for more warmth. Alexa, set timer 30 minutes.
30 minutes, starting now.
So in 30 minutes, I'll come back and show you the next round of stretch and folds.